Alright, YouTube, so about almost a year ago, I said, I made a paranormal video where I said that I encountered a shadow person. And every time I talk about this with someone I trust, they're always like, because I speak about it so jumbly on the spot that the story seems to not be coherent, or that my experience, it doesn't pan out chronologically to them. So, in addition to that, I also want to just give my experience, maybe see if other people will see this video and have seen the same thing I've been seeing. Or I have seen, and whatnot. And maybe just add another thing for these paranormal researchers to look into. So let's first start off with the story, because that's basically what everybody clicked on this video for anyway. Essentially, I was 15 going on 16. It was June 2012. I was about to be a sophomore in high school. I don't remember the exact time, but it would have to be somewhere between 3:35 and 3:50 this happened, because I used to enjoy staying up really late when I was younger. It was completely dark. Only thing you could really hear was the sounds of the cars passing on the highway and the different crickets and frogs chirping and whatnot. A lot of people complain about hearing this weird metallic-y siren-y noise. I never heard that. But what I will tell you is that now that I think back upon it, I do not remember, probably within 20 seconds before seeing this thing, I don't think I've heard any type of noise, any ambient noise, anything. It was just completely silent. Not even the crickets were chirping. And through this doorway that leads to the kitchen of this house, it was a black figure. And its head was fat. It seemed to have it didn't seem like, they'll talk about hooded shadow people, but it didn't appear like a hood to me. To me, it just looked like a big beefy neck that was connected to the shoulders. It wasn't so much a shadow. It appeared more like a sooty vapor. Like if a humidifier were to emit pitch black and ashy gray water vapor, but it trailed more like smoke would. That's what this thing looked like. And it was crouched down, like if you've ever seen a chimpanzee, not on all fours, but he's kind of hopping around, and he's got his back hunched over, and his arms aren't touching, but they might as well be. They're that long. See, what it was this thing would have probably been 6'2" doing that. So if it was standing straight up, this thing probably could have been 8.5 feet. I'm not joking. It had very long arms. And I'd say they were slightly bent, just slightly, and the hands stopped just a couple inches below the knee. But the one thing I will never forget will be the tiny yet bright red eyes this thing had. This thing had intensely bright eyes that were red, no bigger than the size of an average human pupil. So not the entire eye, but the pupil of the eye. And it was weird because at some parts of its body it appeared more vaporous, but the leg region seemed to be more solid, like an actual shadow. And it wasn't appearing to wear some type of trench coat or whatever. But to me, maybe it was because it was walking around like it did like a sideways shuffle walk, but he was in like a stance you would see like a cartoony old western movie when they're about to do a draw and they're like all like spread out like that and their limbs are expanded and bent, and so are their legs. It almost looked like he was wearing leather chaps. And this whole encounter was probably no more than 7 to 10 seconds. However, it felt like I saw this thing for a good 5 minutes. Nothing extraordinary happened, but I've been around ghosts before. I've encountered ghosts. I generally feel safe and or comfortable being around ghosts. I mean, sure, I'm wowed that I saw a ghost, and it's amazing to me. But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm in imminent danger. With this thing, I saw it immediately, and fear just struck into my heart. Like, I didn't have this general sense of everything will be okay. Then I locked eyes with it. And I want you to keep in mind that I wasn't suffering sleep paralysis. I mean, I was slightly fatigued. It was an early hour in the morning, but I locked eyes with it. And the next thing that happened was just this electrical pulse shot through my body. It was terrible. Sweat just started dripping off of me. And I was shortened of breath, but I think maybe that was just because I was just so shocked and scared that it was hard keeping my composure. But I know that that shock was not something induced by myself to my body. That was something that shadow person had done to me. Now, I don't know if it was an attack, it was some type of back off sign. Maybe it was afraid that I would get up and attack it. I don't know. It could have been anything, really. And I freaked out and I closed my eyes real quick. And I open it and it's gone. But I still felt this thing was in my presence. So for the next 30 minutes on this couch I'm laying on, I threw this blanket over my head until I just kind of fell asleep. I don't remember having any dreams about that. If I had a dream after that, I'm sure I would have remembered it. So I think that thing maybe left me alone after that. I'm not sure. But it was weird. I've seen ghosts in a blue type hue. I've had ghosts actually throw things at me. And I've done several EVP things. However, I knew when I saw this spirit or whatever it was, this thing was not once a human. Now, getting more into the folklore about this, I don't really believe these are fallen angels. I think science combined with this Native American prophecy kind of, it generally explains it better. In Native American lore, they have something called the Twisted Hairs prophecy, which is basically a congregation of several different Native American tribes, and they just kind of combined because a lot of their prophecies have similar themes. And one of these things apparently is the presence of these beings. Now there's several different types of these interdimensional or thought to be interdimensional beings. Everything from forest protectors to golden ones to like white ones, which are supposed to be really good ones. But the one I saw was, according to this prophecy, very malevolent. And when you see it, it's generally up to no good. And the man, or not the man, but this thing is described, a certain type, as being somewhat tall, between 6.5 to like 8 feet tall, black or vaporous black, kind of like, it looks like a ball or like a human, but in the form of smoke, and the red eyes. And generally, apparently, this thing feeds off of negative energies, and this would explain a lot, because at the time, and I don't enjoy talking about my private life. I don't think it's very professional, but when I was 15, some of you may have known, some long-term subscribers may know that I was basically caught at school, my former school, with drugs, opiates, hydrocodone. And I was going through an intense legal struggle at the time. I mean, it wasn't intense. We kind of knew what the outcome was going to be anyway. But, I mean, it still takes a toll on your mental health. I was expelled from school. I mean, this is previous to this, but, you know, that's for another video. But for now, I had a lot of negative emotional feelings. I had just not broke things off, but got into a huge fight with someone at one time I was interested in, because she would basically call me annoying and shit, but at the same time talk to me, because I don't roll like that. I mean, if you don't like me, just tell me. I will leave you alone type of person. But don't act like my friend and, talk to me like I'm a piece of shit behind my back. So at the same time, I'm fighting with this chick. Yada 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 yada. So there was a lot of pent up negative emotions. I was a very spiteful, hateful person at the time, very cold to the world. And then this thing appeared in the living room at 3:50 a.m. approximately one night. I don't claim to know what this thing is. All I know is that whatever this thing is, it was in this living room almost 4 years ago. And I don't know what it is, but I do have the general sense it was up to no good. That's about all, YouTube. Peace out, and have yourself a wonderful morning.